All right. Ready? Oh, we're already recording. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so the deal is we have a lot of conversations about DIY that never get recorded. And frankly, that's definitely for the better. We do not need all of our conversations recorded at all. That would probably hurt many people, specifically us. But we do have a lot of fun conversations that pertain to making your own gear. That we think could be really beneficial to a lot of listeners and makers out there. Thus, we started Ripstop on the Record after hours. Woo! This is fairly unscripted, unedited. It's pretty much on everything that you'd want out of a good podcast, but we're going to have fun with it and keep it very organic.
So what you're saying, Jameson, is this is not going to be a good podcast?
Probably not.
Okay, cool.
But it'll be fun.
So no pressure.
Yeah. So we're going to start a 20-minute timer. We're going to talk about one topic. Either one of us can bring it up. I have this week's at another week. One of them might have it. But they don't know what we're going to talk about yet. And we're just going to go off the cuff as if we're sitting at Growler Girls having a drink in Carter's living room, having a different drink, or sitting in the office at lunchtime eating Greek food. So 20-minute timer. We're going to talk about something MYOG related. Cool?
Let's do it. Yeah.
All right. So I rode my bike to work today, and it got me thinking about what it means to carry stuff on a bike that you're going to need more access to. So unlike bike packing, where your stuff's going to be streamlined in a very specific way, what it means to carry and bring stuff on a bike that you then need to use that day. So a backpack specifically. So my topic for today is I rode that bike. I threw my clothes for lunchtime basketball in the half frame bag that I have, and I had everything else in my backpack. Not a bad system, but it does get me thinking of more ways to disperse or different types of backpacks that you can use that would be more specific to biking.
So I think you could just get ratchet straps and just get all the stuff you need and just ratchet strap it to your body. It's ultra light and simple. And that's how I try to live my life.
That's a good point.
What do you think about that?
Side note, this is unedited completely. There will be language in here that you don't want to hear. But that's part of what the charm of this podcast is going to be, is that Carter's going to swear a lot. Isaac might swear a little bit, and I'll swear a little bit less because I'm scared my mom will listen.
In reality, though, if you're listening, Jameson's mom, he cusses all the time.
That's fair.
We have to ask him to stop. It's so bad. I'm just kidding. It's not true.
So yeah, back to it. So I've got a fairly it's a very rectangular backpack right now that sits fairly close. But the weight still shifts. The half frame bag worked well, but you can I fit a set of clothes in there plus like a small towel, deodorant, and some shower wipes and stuff. But like any given day, I need to bring a laptop, charger, shoes for work, a change of clothes, basketball clothes, and lunch. What other ways can you carry that so that you're not just putting all the weight on your back?
So definitely the main thing and the most classic thing that's really coming back in are panniers, right? Especially as we get into having really nice alloy and carbon racks like the tail fin rack that we've looked at a little bit, and also having materials like Venom and Dyneema composite fabric and things like that where you can make panniers ultra light. I think that's the best spot for them because you can, just like a backpack, you can pack them a little bit easier and put bulkier stuff in than if you had 15 fucking bags off the side. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it would end up being is you have a full frame bag, but then where do you put your water, and you've got that volet strap to your ankles. That's not ideal. So I think panniers are the way to go. I also think that'd be a really fun project that I haven't done yet.
Yeah.
But the tail fin rack.
So my only thing with panniers though is the connection method. Because a lot of them have heavy metal hardware that you have to use to connect them to the panniers, and I don't like that.
So there are a lot of different options for that. Yes, some of them are heavy, but more common technology so there are a couple of different ones. Like the tail fin one that you've looked at is not heavy at all, right? Yeah, that's designed to be light. There are other companies that use a cord tensioning system to do it.
Ortlieb.
Ortlieb does a lot of really cool stuff with quick release, and they're not heavy. A lot of those are actually really dense, HDPE plastic and stuff like that. And what the fuck are you guys doing?
Jameson's trying to play footsie with me. So
cut into my ankle.
You either try or you don't do it.
So I think the other cool thing...
what? You either do it or you don't try. That's what I meant to say.
So I think the other cool thing that you could look at is front racks. So like we have done some like pretty sketchy alteration of like front brackets on this bike, right?
Yeah, it's still there.
We like took a grinder and like cut off half of the front ring.
Can they see me?
It was like a brake hanger, right?
This thing right here.
You gotta bring it closer, I think.
That's a lot of work. Well, just imagine a piece of metal that's been bent, and that's what it is.
Yeah, we angle grinded the brake hanger off and then bent the shit out of that piece of metal to make it all work.
So that being said, though, I think the coolest thing that I've seen recently is the jack rack.
So that is really cool. I have one of those.
The jack of all racks, I think.
I think it's just called the jack.
It might be the jack.
But that is like there are similar things out there, but it's kind of like a quasi like decaler front rack thing that's a quick release that goes off your handlebar so that you have a bag support underneath. There are lots of those for like saddlebags in the rear that come off and hang down, but this one is in the front and it's really nice. It's kind of like it's basically an ultralight version of like a walled rack in the front.
Yeah.
It's a Jack the Bike rack, and it's currently still on Indiegogo. So
the best thing about the Jack the Bike rack, and we'll link that down below, is the streamlinedness, because I can't be the only person that gets frustrated by aesthetics when trying to put stuff on a bike. Like the frame bags, I like because they're in line with the whole bike system and it doesn't add anything. But like once you get to like front racks and back racks, I just find them like, especially panniers, it's like they're kind of hideous. And like the front rack, like especially the jack rack, like it's completely inconspicuous. You have no idea that it's there unless you set it up. But like a front bag, like a front handlebar bag, frame bags, like they all kind of work in line with the bike. Like you expect to see that. And I think they still function pretty well. And the jack rack that's pretty epic.
Yeah. So Jameson, you and I definitely share different opinions on aesthetics. Like I do also like
the fact that my bike is all black and yours is pink and yellow.
Yeah. Like, well, and also I really like the usefulness on certain bikes. I would agree. Like I don't want a front rack on like a road bike or something like that, but it does have its place. It's for like a grocery getter or something. So what I use on one of my bikes is like a Nitto M12 ultralight, like tiny front rack. And then I use a walled 137 half rack, or a half basket, which is something that a lot of people don't even know exists. So instead of the full heavy one, it's only half of one. And then I have a Swift bag that goes in there. I also have
the full basket is like 8 inches tall. This one's like 3 or 4 inches tall.
Yeah.
The half basket.
So it's although you could put stuff in it with a net, it's really designed to just be a better platform for a bag. But it's also versatile. If you wanted to like put cans in there and just strap them down, you don't need to have a bag in there. Mm-hmm. Or the basket is also connected with valet straps. So you can just pull those off. And then the rack, I mean, is tiny. It's, I don't know, it probably sticks out 6 inches or something. Mm-hmm. And it's 4 inches wide. So it's definitely not large.
It's too small.
It also could hold a lot more weight. And personally, I think it carries the weight better than when it's directly hanging off of the handlebars.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of it. But a basket, like you said, is like a pretty obtuse large object in the front. Mm-hmm. Whereas the jack rack, if you don't need it, you just pop it off really quickly.
Because that is the thing that I did like when I was riding in today, and the few other times I've ridden with the backpack, is that it does keep your bike fairly clean. Like putting it on the backpack, the pack was probably 12 pounds. It wasn't super heavy, but it's a lot more than you're used to riding with your back. And it is nice just to have everything. Like I could very easily take that on single track, or like I went to ride it to get lunch today. And I wasn't really like, I took everything out of my frame bag. So I don't worry about anything getting stolen or like people being curious about what was in the pack at all, because like the bike was still pretty stripped down.
So that has me thinking too of like,
just look at the mic so they can hear you.
Oh, sorry. I was looking at the bike.
Mic and bike.
It would be really cool to make a padded basket bag that is sized specifically to have like a laptop sleeve in it that could just go in the front.
That would be sick, yeah.
And then like on my bike, you could just pull it off if you didn't want to use it. But in talking with Jason, our new GM, he rides a lot, does a lot of mountain biking. And we were like asking him, dude, like what kind of, you have a ton of like X-Pack frame bags, right? And he's like, no, I just carry everything on my back. So sometime soon we're gonna have to ask him like what he actually carries and stuff, because I have no idea what he has.
I think he also hunts from his bike too, right?
I'm
pretty sure he mentioned that.
So you're planning on bike commuting to our new office, Isaac, and when your new bike comes in,
I am.
we talked about this a little bit, like what is your game plan for commuting? Because you've got work stuff, clothes, lunch, like you have all the same stuff I do. Do you leave stuff at work? Like even like what's your your bag plan of bags you're going to make, rack plan, and then like what are you trying to leave at work or at home?
Because you also ride to work like a couple days a week right now.
Yeah, sporadically. I also hate wearing a backpack, and I don't currently have any way of like safely transporting a laptop. So I think I'm probably going to end up just like leaving my work laptop at work and just not working after hours.
Unacceptable.
Yeah. And then that way I can just focus on like putting, like if I wanted to work out at lunch or food or whatever, I can just put that like on a front rack or in a frame bag. Because I'm also planning on using the ROUTWorks handlebar bag that Carter got 2 of. Actually, should I
3 of?
I don't know.
It's fine. I traded you one, so I really only got one, right? So
yeah. So Carter and I made a deal, and I'm going to be using that for my handlebars.
Which, if you haven't seen that bag, the ROUTWorks bag, it is awesome. It has a phenomenal quick release.
Yeah.
And it's really sturdy. And it's just a really well built. It's pretty heavy, but it's super well built and has a ton of features like a quad lock system built into the top of it, so your phone mounts on top. It has bars, like handlebar size little plugs that can screw in on the side, so you can mount lights. It's just an extremely functional and streamlined bag.
Yeah.
But yeah, check that out for sure. We'll link that as well.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to start with that, and then eventually, once I save up for the tail fin rack, because it's like $250 or $300 for the alloy one, so it's kind of steep. I think I'll probably get that and then make my own like bag to go on top of that for like gym clothes, stuff like that.
Do you have a design concept for that bag that's going to go on top of the tail fin yet?
I don't. I think it's going to be a roll top, because the bag that they sell is a roll top bag. But I'll probably use DCF just because
it also it'll have to be specifically designed for that rack.
That's
top.
That's the other thing. I don't know exactly how the top of that rack is going to look.
It's like, so it's designed to have their specific bag that has like female connectors that clip on and then clip onto your seat. They also have a rack that the bag is the top tube of the rack.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole thing, and then you can just pull the bag off, and that's the whole rack comes off, and it's all quick release.
Yeah,
so I think when you make one, you're going to have to figure out a way to connect whatever bag you make to the existing bag connectors, because it's really designed to have either the bag that they make or panniers that you can get, like you can make your own and then put their attachment on it, or they have like
braze-ons.
Yeah, like bottle cage bolts that you could put 2 dry bags on either side.
Yeah.
Which is what I tend to think I think a really versatile system would be, instead of panniers, because I agree they can get really heavy down there and they're just ugly. But I do like the wide foot and a few other places. Maybe I think Tailfin has one too. That's really nice.
Ones, yeah. They're super lightweight. They're like billet aluminum, I think.
It's like the Salsa Anywhere cage, where you can just put a roll top dry bag on each side, and you could fit a ton of shit in one of those. They're like 8 or 10 liters each. Like that's a lot.
Yeah. So I was kind of thinking, like, for the top bag, my brother has a 3D printer, so I might enlist his help to maybe like try and figure out how we could print something that would fit into that attachment system for the top of the rack, and then implement that in some kind of DIY bag.
Say you go for maximum waterproofness, which I'm sure you probably will for this bag. Would you do French seam and DCF repair tape on those seams? Or would you just do straight seam DCF repair tape and send it because you know you can make a new one, whatever?
1/6 Hyper D. Like you made that fucking tarp out of. Sorry.
It's a sun shield.
Oh, sorry. Sun shield. Sun shield.
I mean, there's also 2.2 hex 70 DWR.
Is that supposed to make it better?
I would
so it was heavier.
I would probably go with French seam eventually, but I honestly don't use that often, so I'd have to practice a little bit first to like.
Same.
We know. I think one split in the middle that you can do, and I've seen a few people do this, not like Hilltop Packs does, but kind of similar, is just You can also just do a rolled hem that you sew down.
Yeah.
And I think that is sturdier and keeps water out better. And it's much easier than having to flip your project inside out and blah, blah, blah. You just need to make sure that you add the allowance for it. And depending on how you construct things, you need to tape certain parts first. So don't wait. And this is something that as you make more stuff, you start thinking about those steps a lot in a lot better planning mindset. Because at first you're like, well, at first you don't even fucking think about that at all. Eventually you're like, okay, well, I'm going to want to tape this at the end, right?
Yeah.
So you make the entire bag, and then you like, oh, I should tape this, but now you have a seam that you can't actually tape because it's held down by two other seams.
It's like binding that part where your zipper or the zipper tape.
The part that you were like yesterday, you were like,
oh, this looks amazing.
Oh shit! Why didn't I do this before? Yes, same exact thing.
Yeah. There
are certain pieces that you won't be able to get to. And with a rolled hem, the whole reason for saying that is that a rolled hem is really stiff. So if there's parts before that you miss, you're not going to be able to like peel those back and get tape on them. But I think that's probably what I would do. But honestly, most of the time when I'm taping with DCF, unless it's going to be a high stress seam, I just do a simple seam. And then sometimes I top stitch it.
Yeah. So this is a slight diversion from what we're currently talking about, but it has been on my mind recently of making like submerging bags, like bags good enough, submersible stuff, bags good enough that they can be dunked in the water entirely and still keep everything pretty good. Like you're not going to dive with it. You're not going 10 meters deep, but like if you fall out of your kayak or get pushed out of your kayak or however you end up in the water, that like your shit will be dry.
That's kind of what I was going for when I made the pack for like fly fishing. It's kind of like a small, like rectangular roll top backpack. And it's completely DCF and fully taped. And it's not like, obviously it's not going to be like, I can't hold it underwater for 30 minutes and expect all my stuff to be dry. But I'm also going to have all my stuff in dry bags inside it. So that's going to like, there's like multiple layers. I think for DIY, you can't, unless you have like a sonic welder or like.
That's basically it.
Yeah. Like
you could try to use like a hot iron, but you need to get the temperatures to exact points for whatever TPU or stuff that you're working with. The chances of you not doing that correctly are probably like 99%.
Yeah.
So
I think the next best option is just having multiple layers of like waterproof.
Yeah. It's like doing a naturally waterproofing seam with tape and then do dry bags inside.
Well, I use like, depending on what it is, like for backpacking, I would use a like waterproof pack that has tape seams. And then I normally don't use dry bags. I use like a big pack liner for all things that could get wet, which is basically a big dry bag.
Oh, that's a good idea. Cause I thought about what you said, Isaac. Like when I was in Florida last week, so I was kayaking and supping, which is why it came to mind. And I had like my DCF fanny pack, but it's a zipper. So I knew like that's not going to keep it dry. So I had a dry bag inside of the fanny pack. And it's just kind of a pain to get all that stuff out. Like when you pull out, like you open your fanny pack, you pull out a dry bag, you undo the dry bag, you put your stuff in, you roll, like it's a pretty hassle. So doing like what's it called? The
pack liner?
Yeah. What's that fabric or material?
Type
that would be really heavy. I don't know.
Not hype-long. But something like that's not a bad idea.
I would literally just use a Ziploc bag.
That's what I'm saying. Like just like a big,
literally just, but not like a hype-long Ziploc bag. Just literally just use a Ziploc bag. Like that is fully waterproof. That can go underwater. And for a small fanny pack, that is like your pack liner. Just put use like a freezer bag, which is way more durable. Yeah. With like the double seal.
You could use the
But but that's what I use for smaller stuff when backpacking or in my bike, like in my bike bag. I put any electronic stuff or things that I don't want to get wet just in a plastic Ziploc. Yeah. And that's fine. You already have a waterproof thing with a waterproof zipper. And then if water gets in there, it's not going to get inside the plastic bag.
And like anything like my phone, I would just put like a waterproof, like I would get like an actual dry bag from a reputable company, but like that's a good idea. Like a Ziploc would take care of that and take out half the hassle of like undoing your dry bag, unclipping it, getting it out and doing that.
It's also extremely cheap and it's
way lighter. And you can reuse it, and that's good to like reuse a plastic bag a lot of times instead of just throwing it away. Also, phones are pretty much all waterproof now. That's
what? Yeah. Well, so the thing about Locksack that I don't like is that they make the
they make a lot of
Yeah, I don't have a ton of experience with like that one. He has like the specific waterproof one.
Yeah.
But I have had like the anti-smell waterproof ones before to use with the Ursack for backpacking, like the bear bag thing.
Yeah.
And they suck ass.
Really?
And a lot of people have that experience with the Seal. Like the Seal is just terrible. I've had probably 15 of them, and I would say 12 of them have failed. Like
They're
on the
definitely
zipper.
hard to like close, like the Seal.
Yeah, but I have not used like the specific water. Like that Seal is different than the A-Lock sack, which is the one that I've used.
All right.
I use these like every time I like need to take my laptop or something into an environment that might get wet. I just put it in.
Oh, really? And they make these big enough?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
I use it when I go through the car wash. I go through the car wash sometimes without my car.
Just for fun, yeah.
They also make them. They also make them big enough for like a rifle, which is kind of cool if you're into that.
That's pretty wild.
Have you walked around with a fucking Ziploc bag on your rifle, dude?
Well, if I'm going out on my canoe hunting, then I can just put my rifle in that.
Don't they make waterproof rifles these days? I feel like that's the next move. If they don't already make that, that's unfortunate.
I mean, it probably wouldn't hurt it if it got wet, but
it could hurt like the ammo, possibly.
Well, yeah.
If you submerge
your ammo to get
Isn't
wet.
that in the metal casing?
Yeah, but if you submerge it, well, I don't think it's water impermeable.
Yeah.
So like if it fell in the lake and then you picked it up, it would be like waterlogged and it probably wouldn't ignite.
I mean, also,
but I don't know anything about guns. So
anyways.
Well, the funny part about this is that we have reached the time limit, 20 minutes, and that is scary because that went way faster than I thought.
Yeah.
And we have these conversations a lot. So I'm rethinking everything.
What you mean about how much time we're wasting talking about random bullshit, or just like?
Oh, I wouldn't say that. I would say how much time we're gaining and using talking about worthwhile, helpful information.
Yeah.
All right, Senator McFarland Hall.
I mean, it's beneficial to me.
That's true. It is to me too.
And maybe 10 of you.
Maybe.
Or
I don't know who of you would want to listen to our conversations, but hey, more power to you.
If you liked it, let us know. Comment. Tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. As always, go check out Ripstop on the Record during hours, the other 33 episodes.
Is that what we're going to call it?
Yes.
That's the official title now.
That's why we stopped swearing in that one, because
it's during hours. And
it's
if you cuss at work, then you'll also get fired as well.
Yep. But we also drink beer.
I'm going to call HR.
How does that work?
Well, I think
people can't hear us drink beer unless you're doing a real bad job.
My chair has sunk, which means it's been at least 20 minutes. All right. Till next time.
Deuces.
Love you.